Hello, welcome to vlog week 4. I finished week 3 yesterday, a day early. I guess I finished it 2 days ago. I don't know, I finished it early because I was starting a whole bunch of books and I didn't want to describe those books at the very end of that vlog, just to not do any reading updates or any of those things in that vlog. So now I'm starting the new vlog. I have a doctor's appointment in a little bit, so I need to make this somewhat speedy, but I started quite a few books yesterday. I started, what did I start? I started Bad Man by Dathan Aubacher. I realized I was adding an extra N in there. So I started Bad Man by Dathan Aubacher, who wrote Pen Pal. I started Radium Girls as an audiobook, and I started S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. That book will be interesting. I don't know how much I'm actually going to talk about it in the vlogs, doing updates and stuff, just because it is such a complex and complicated read, and I don't know what will and won't be a spoiler because it's very complicated, and there seems to be things jumping around in time, so I don't really want to spoil stuff accidentally. So, Tiger Cat, you're right there eating. Why must you scream? Otherwise, I just finished The Darkness Outside Us, The Darkness Outside Us, and unfortunately, my Pride reads were not great this month. I didn't like this very much. I gave it 2 stars. I was reading a lot of reviews on Goodreads, and people love it, and they were talking about how this was marketed poorly as being like a YA gay romance sort of book in the marketing, and that was wrong because it's a much heavier, much more plot-based book, and like the romance is not the important part of the book. However, I don't agree. I guess if you're like a big romance reader, big like YA romance reader, this probably does have more plot than what you normally read in a romance book. However, I typically read adult genre fiction, and there's YA that I read, but I don't typically read a lot of romance in general. So this really was just too romance forward for me, like from the start. Ambrose was immediately like lusting over Kodiak, and like that just doesn't work for me in books. I don't like reading romance books, and it was just like maybe a hair too YA like written for me. I don't know how to explain that because the topics in it are much more like heavy and complex than you would think in a YA book, and there's like actual sex in this, which I don't think typically happens in YA books, but like just the way it's written felt very YA to me, and for me the romance was too much to enjoy and get into the plot. Like I don't mind a romance, but I like my romance in a book to be secondary typically. I like it to happen kind of in the background. I don't want that to be the focus of the book. So that's what this book was. It really was. I also am starting to learn and realize that when I read romance stuff, I tend to prefer it in a graphic novel format, and I tend to prefer a sports romance. They don't always have to be sports, but I'm realizing that I really do tend to like a sports romance, and the romances I do like tend to be a graphic novel. So I think there was just too many things in this that I wasn't gonna like for this book to work for me, unfortunately. So like I just didn't like it. I really didn't like most of the characters. I didn't like the AI I have one other AI book on my TBR that I think I'm going to try and read this month and see if maybe I don't like AIs, because that was my biggest issue with Illuminae as well. Granted, it was a much smaller big issue in Illuminae, whereas this AI character was a bigger, well, I don't know if I would say a bigger part, but was a bigger annoyance to me while reading. So yeah, unfortunately it was only 2 stars, but I absolutely totally understand why people love this. It's kind of the same thing that I have with Pride and Prejudice. It's just like, I get why people like this, because people like romance, but I just don't. So there is that. I hope that my thoughts were somewhat coherent. I'm trying to kind of do this quickly because I need to get out the door to go to my doctor's appointment here soon. And there was a cat distracting me, and I am doing it on the stairs because the AC was going when I needed to start recording. So yeah, those are the 3 books I'm currently reading, and the book I just finished. And I don't know, I'll check in, I don't know, probably sometime tomorrow, because I'm expecting to do a whole lot of nothing tomorrow except read, because I am expecting to feel pretty gross after this doctor's appointment. So we'll see which book I really get into. So I'll see you in a bit. Hello, it is June 23rd. Yes, June 23rd. I actually really don't have much to update about quite yet, but I have been listening to Radium Girls, which I think I mentioned. Jess Owens had read it recently, I think, and so I picked it up on a whim because I was in desperate need of an audiobook, because I was just wasting so much time trying to find stuff on YouTube, and I was like, why am I spending all this time like scrolling and scrolling to find something to listen to on YouTube when I could listen to a book? Listening to a podcast all the way through for like a week straight really just messed up my rhythm. So then I had the realization, I'm like, oh, I should be listening to an audiobook. Anyways, so I picked Radium Girls. I'm enjoying it. I don't love the narrator. I don't really know what it is about her voice that I just like don't love. But I'm listening at 2 times speed, so I'm listening to it pretty quick. What's slowing me down, however, is if you don't know, these women were working with radium, and they were painting with it, and it caused severe health problems because it's radioactive. And it's like their story. However, I did not realize that it was going to talk so much about people's teeth falling out and their jawbones disintegrating. And as I had mentioned in the Manhunt vlog, I don't know, I think that was 2 weeks ago when I was reading Manhunt, I mentioned dentistry. So it's just given me the heebie-jeebies. Like, it's really hard to listen, so I've had to like stop. When I listen to an audiobook, I usually sit and listen for like a few hours, maybe not a few, but like an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I listen to it in big chunks, like once a day. With this, I'm having to stop at every chapter and like go do something else, listen to something else, read something else, just because I can't do like back-to-back multiple teeth extractions, mouth lesions, things like that. Like, it's incredibly uncomfortable. So while the story is interesting, I'm so angry for these women. It's testing me mentally, but otherwise it's a pretty good read. Listen, yeah, that's really the only update I have. I'm trying to make a little progress in Bad Man just because that's a library book, and I'm already falling behind in S because I just absolutely didn't have the energy to read it after my doctor's appointment yesterday. I'm feeling a lot better today than I was expecting. So I'll probably try and get a big chunk of that read, kind of catch up to where I need to be today, hopefully. But otherwise, those are my reading updates. I'm already feeling like I'm behind for this, like the reading I need to do for this vlog. But also it's only day 2, so I don't know why I'm feeling behind already. I guess maybe I'm feeling a little daunted by the length of the books I'm currently reading. It doesn't feel like I can finish any of them in a week, but we'll see. I mean, I am listening to Radium Girls pretty quickly, so I guess that one's likely. Otherwise, I guess I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Hello, it's June 23rd, 4th, I don't know. Yeah, I'm wearing the same shirt I wore yesterday because I haven't gotten out of my pajamas, so that is what it is. I'm just checking in because I am going to say that Roe v. Wade has been overturned today. So I don't know what that means for my vlog this week. It's gonna either go one of 2 ways. I'm gonna spiral and I'm gonna spend a lot of time reading things on Twitter about the Supreme Court and doom scrolling. And if that's the case, I'm not gonna get a lot of reading done. The other way is I am gonna want to get off my phone and I'm gonna do a lot of reading. And so I'm just checking in now because I don't know what way mentally I'm gonna go at this very moment. So I'm just checking in to say, I don't know if this is gonna be a great vlog because we live in hell times. And I have a feeling today could very much throw off the course of this vlog. So you can send your thanks to Samuel Alito for fucking up this vlog and fucking up the lives of women, trans people, non-binary, non-gender conforming people who have uteruses, and stripping them of their bodily autonomy. I'll see you when I see you. Hello, it is Saturday the 25th. I didn't do as much reading as I wanted to yesterday because I was too busy doom scrolling with the Dobbs ruling from the Supreme Court. Overturning Roe versus Wade is not good. So I spent a lot of time just on Twitter reading things, being upset, and not a lot of time reading. And I will just leave it at, it's bad news. And I'm not going to go further down that tangent just because it can get off the rails very quickly. However, today my husband and I, we drove all across the freaking state of Virginia, it felt like, and we visited my college town and where we met, and we walked around town. It's about 2 hours from where we live, so we spent a lot of time in the car. And we did a whole bunch of stuff, you know, ate places we used to eat, walked around, looked at places we used to live. It was very hot and humid, so then got a frozen chai, visited his family for a little bit. But because I spent, I don't know, at least 4 hours in the car, we had to do some detours and stuff, to do some other errands and whatnot. I managed to finish Bad Man by Dathan Aubacher. Nope. Arbach. And unfortunately, I didn't like this one. I gave it 2 stars. This book is almost 400 pages long, and it's too long. The slowness that I thought worked so well in Pen Pal did not work so well in this for me. The suspense and the like unsettling vibes that were in Pen Pal like just didn't exist in this book for me. I just didn't. There was very little I liked about this book, to be quite honest. I didn't hate anything necessarily, but I didn't enjoy reading any of it. Basically, the story follows a man named Ben. Sorry, there was a dog whining and I was trying to figure out what was going on. It follows a man named Ben whose brother Eric disappears while they're in the grocery store. And basically it's like 5 years after Eric has disappeared, and he is following, or he's trying to figure out what happens, because he eventually goes to work at this grocery store where Eric disappeared from. And it just like, it felt more like a thriller than like a scary, spooky something weird to read. It was slow, it was long. I don't know. And like, I wanted to like Ben, but I just like didn't really like Ben that much. Like, I didn't think he was a bad person or anything. I just like couldn't connect to him in the way I was hoping for. And I don't know, I just felt like there was a lot of back and forth where it was like, it's this person, it's not this person. Oh, but it is actually this person. But it's not actually this person. And it was like, went back and forth between like a couple people like that, and it just got kind of like tiresome and irritating. And the actual reveal I didn't find interesting. Not like, it just didn't do anything for me. So like, I don't have anything like in particular to really talk about or point out. I just like didn't like any of the choices that were made. And like, I just didn't feel like the writing style worked for me in this. However, I do think this like took place in the same town that Pen Pal took place in. And there's two reasons I say that. One, someone mentioned the ditch at one point, which definitely existed in Pen Pal. Granted, the ditch could be anything, anywhere. I'm sure there are 100 jillion places in this world that have a place that they call the ditch, you know, capital T, capital D. So I saw that and I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then the other thing was, he mentioned there was a movie theater where you could move the tables and chairs around. And that was definitely something that happened in Pen Pal. However, this takes place in like the 80s, I think. There was a lot of talking about like hair metal bands. There were no cell phones. They were making landline calls. Just stuff like that. Where Pen Pal definitely took place more like in modern times because people had cell phones. I kind of got the vibe that maybe it was like early 2000s, because I think it was like flip phones, I think maybe, but like some people could get pictures and some people couldn't get pictures on their cell phones. So, you know, it was before smartphones, but like when teenagers had cell phones. So anyways, I did kind of think it was interesting to think of these as maybe taking place in the same town, universe. Maybe something weird's going on there. But unfortunately, this just wasn't a win for me. I think that's the only other book he has out. So, like, if you put something else out, I probably will still try and read that one too. Like, I don't hate him as an author or anything like that, but unfortunately this one just wasn't it for me. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to finish anything else this week. I am just spending a lot of time on Twitter. There are more Supreme Court rulings coming on Monday. Who knows what garbage will be coming from the court on Monday. But yeah, I don't know. This week has just been really weird, been a mess. Because I had doctor appointment stuff, lots of doctor's appointments this week, and then just bad political stuff. So I really don't know what the rest of this week will look like. I just realized I haven't finished editing the video for Monday, so I guess that's what I'll be doing tomorrow because it's 6 something in the evening, and I'm definitely not doing it tonight. So I will talk to y'all, I don't know, tomorrow. Bye. Hello, it is June 26th. It is Sunday afternoon, and holy cow, I got a lot of books to read. I'm starting to drown in library books. So last night I checked out Foxhole Court, which I talked about in last week's vlog. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like this book or not, but I just kind of picked it up because I heard it was a little buck wild, and I was trying to get out of a reading slump when I put it on hold. Not really in that reading slump anymore, but I still decided to give it a shot. However, I did end up DNFing it, like in the first chapter, just because I could tell I wasn't going to like it. I thought the writing was fine, like it was easy enough to read, but I was already just getting vibes that like maybe it was going to be really violent, and it seemed like maybe there was like gang or mob stuff that might be coming in, and you know, maybe this is like a complete misreading of what was going to happen in the book, but just the vibes I was picking up, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this, and I DNF'd it. And honestly, it's probably for the best because I checked out Parable of the Sower as an audiobook, thinking I would listen to that after I finished Radium Girls, which I still have like 6 hours left in. And then Sorrowland, the audiobook, checked out to me today. So that's 3 audiobooks that I need to get through somehow. I don't know. I guess I need to buckle down and listen to Radium Girls and finish that tonight, maybe. I don't know. I also checked out Catfishing on the Catnet, which is quite the name. Jess Owens mentioned this in a vlog maybe, or maybe it was her May wrap-up. I don't know. She mentioned it in a video somewhat recently. And it seemed like maybe something I would like. This has an AI character in it, I'm pretty sure. So this is going to be my 3rd AI book, if that is accurate, if I'm remembering correctly. And I'm hoping that will give me an idea of whether I like AI characters or not, because it was kind of like my least favorite part of Illuminae. I didn't like the AI in The Darkness Outside Us. So we'll see how I respond to whatever AI exists in Catnet. Maybe I just don't like AIs. It's possible. But I'm hoping this will help me figure that out. So I got reading I need to do because I'm also working on S, and that book is dense. Like, it just takes so long to get through so little. Anyways, so that is my reading update for the 26th, Sunday. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that maybe I can get one more check-in tonight, and that it will be that I finished Radium Girls, because I have so many other things I need to read now. I am drowning in books. I'm not upset about it or anything. I just need to kind of get my ass into gear. Otherwise, I think those are my big reading check-ins. I was thinking I was going to start Sundial today, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, that's my check-in for now. I will talk to y'all maybe this evening. Goodbye. Hello, I am back. It is still June 26th, right? Yes, it's 10 o'clock. And I have just finished The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. I listened to this as an audiobook. I gave it 4 stars. I was expecting this to, I feel like every review is me saying, this is what I expected of the book, and this is what actually the book is, and I probably would have known that if I had read the description. But I expected this book to be more about like the scientific discoveries, I guess, that came from these women being poisoned with radium, having radiation poisoning that slowly built up over the course of time working at these clock painting factories. That's not totally what this is. This is definitely much more about the legal cases to get paid for the damage that was done to them, the harm, the death, the crippling that occurred to them through their work. And in the author's note, the author Kate Moore talks about how in researching this book, so much of the information out there already was about the scientific contribution that these women had, as well as the legal, like the specific legal aspects, because one of the cases went to the Supreme Court, and that's what all the research was about. And she wanted this to be more about these women and their lives, and how that was actually how they were actually affected by their work at these clock factories. So it makes sense that like crux of this is more so the legal cases, because they had to fight tooth and nail to get anything out of the corporations they were working for. I kind of think maybe this might have worked like maybe a hair better for me, like not like a full star's worth, but maybe just a little bit better if I had read it physically, to like really get the emotional impact of this, because I have to imagine there are pictures in there, and some of the things that were described were pretty awful, but being able to like see these beautiful young women and then comparing to like a year later where they have lost limbs or they have lost their jaws, like I think being able to see that might have really driven home what the author was trying to do. So, I mean, she probably accomplished it in like the physical book. I just happened to listen to it in audio form. So, you know, I'm just like missing maybe that tiny little piece. But it wasn't bad in audio form by like any stretch of the imagination. That's just what I imagine. Maybe the physical book would have done better than the audio. I mean, it's heavy. And what I was expecting also when listening to this, like them to like find a cure or like a way to care for these women, because so much of the beginning is just like doctors being like, I can't help you, and it just like getting worse and worse and worse, and just like them suffering so profoundly in a way that is like heart-wrenching. But like a cure really doesn't come. Like it is something that cannot be cured. And I have to imagine like maybe nowadays there are ways in which you can there are better drugs in which you can like help with the pain, but like radiation is here. If it's in you, it's in you for the rest of your life. And it's scary to think how there are still things that are just like, you can't fix them. So that's just like something that stuck out to me, that I realized like while I was listening, I just kept waiting for like, this is the thing that like, even if it's not going to cure you, it's going to like significantly make your life better. Or, you know, when you think about like HIV, AIDS, how it was like a death sentence, and then we learn more about it, and now like people who have HIV, if they're able to take drugs, afford it, you know, all those things, there's obviously caveats to that, but if they're able to regularly take medicine, they basically are like living a normal life. Their lifespan is, you know, with the average person's lifespan. God, sorry, it's late. I'm losing my train of thought. Anyways, so I was expecting something like that. Like, we got this science and we had figured out this way to like help them. So like, even though this radium is going to be with them until they die, we have made progress. But there's just like not something like that. And yeah, there's just like, sometimes you just have like, you are listening to this and you're just like dealing with your own mortality when you think about it. Like, oh, we live in such a technologically advanced place at this moment in time, and sometimes you just realize that you're like, we still don't have all the answers, we still don't have all the fixes, we still don't have all the cures. Anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling there because I have somehow talked about this book for 9 minutes, which is surprising. Like I said, 4 stars. I'm not gonna do any book updates because I really don't have anything to update. But I will see you in the next clip. Bye. Howdy, it is June 27th. Yes, June 27th. And I haven't finished a book, but I have started listening to the Sorrowland audiobook. And I have listened to the first third of it today, which is like 4 hours, I think. Yeah, I've listened to 3 hours and 50 minutes of Sorrowland so far. And I'm really enjoying it. I mean, as soon as it started playing, I realized I had like missed stuff from the first 3 chapters that I had read physically, like, which is so interesting that I was immediately pulled into the audiobook, because I have talked about multiple times that fiction in audiobook form, I just tend to miss stuff. I'm like not the most detail-oriented reader in general, but I just zone out so quickly in an audiobook, in fiction. So the fact that I realized I was zoning out so much reading Sorrowland and I was picking up on details I had missed physically through the audiobook was just a really interesting thing. I really have been immediately like pulled in. I'm definitely following the story. It is definitely slow. There's not like a lot going on necessarily, which I think is maybe part of the reason the audiobook is working for me. Tiger Cat has arrived. Let me pick him up before he starts screaming. So I think the fact that it is slow is kind of what's making the audiobook work for me, because it's, while it's not being told specifically from Burns' POV, like it's that type of first person narrative, it is being told in third person. It's like, Vern did this, she did this. It is still like very internal. It's about like her specific experiences, her memories, and what she is going through right now, while she's living in the woods with her 2 children. So the fact that it's so slow paced and relatively internal, I find has been working in the audiobook form for me. Whereas it makes sense that I maybe struggled with that more in physical form, because I have talked about I like a quick paced, very plot based book. I like something quick, snappy when I'm like physically reading. So that makes sense that maybe I struggled a little bit more with it physically. But I am loving it in audio form. So I'm expecting to finish it pretty quickly if I listened to almost 4 hours of it today. So hopefully I can review it before June is over, which would be great because I had started the month wanting to read and listen to, wanting to read Sorrowland, and then I put the audiobook on hold because I couldn't read it. I was struggling to read it. And so I'm really glad I managed to, it managed to check out to me, and it's seeming like I'll probably still be able to read it this month, just in audio form. I will say that it hasn't been spooky or scary yet, but I have heard that it's like the back half where things really start getting body horror ish. And I just finished like the first part, I just got to the beginning of part 2, and I can maybe see, I think, where that's going, but right now it's pretty straightforward. I mean, there is definitely something weird going on with her physically, but it's nothing like super crazy. There's no like creepy vibes to it quite yet. So I'm interested to see where it goes. But I'm having a good time listening. So even if it's not like, immediately off the bat, very like spooky atmospheric sort of thing, there's definitely some interesting things going on. And the narrator, I'm not sure actually who's narrating it, but really enjoying the person who is narrating Sorrowland as well. So I can't wait to listen to more of it. Greetings, it's June 29th and we have reached the end of the vlog. I finished listening to Sorrowland today and it was such a good listen. I'm gonna give it 4 stars, mostly because I did feel like it was slow, and I've just talked about I don't love a slow read. So I think the slowness kind of keeps me from giving it 5 stars, but it was so good. It was so good. There were so many things that the author managed to weave into this story that I was not expecting. It touched on like the patriarchy, but also like American exceptionalism, maybe, understanding of what America is. It touched on race issues because the main character Vern grew up on a black nationalist compound. It touched on gender identity and maybe intersex topics, if I fully understood the conversation that was going on. There was just so much going on in this book, and you would think that maybe it would feel bogged down or too much was going on, and maybe just pick one, and that's the thing you want to talk about, but it just didn't feel that way. The author really just managed to weave these things all together and form these complex and amazing characters, and it was so good, and it definitely wasn't what I was expecting. This didn't read like a horror book to me. There was body stuff that went on in the back half like I was anticipating. However, it didn't feel like body horror to me. This really felt like a fantasy story to me. So if I can find fantasy that reads like Sorrowland, I could maybe actually consume more fantasy books. So I don't know what that means. This is what felt like a fantasy story to me. I don't know what society at large feels. I don't actually know if this was marketed as a horror book. Maybe I misread it at some point, or maybe I'm I don't understand genres. The thing is I also have this problem with music. I'm just not good at figuring out genre. So it is what it is. So this wasn't scary, spooky, what I was expecting when I picked this up, but I still just really enjoyed it. There is one chapter at the very end that is about Vern's mom, and I don't know what it was about that chapter. It's so different from the rest of the book, but I just loved it. I loved that chapter so much. Yeah, so I listened to it in 3 days. I listened to like big chunks of it the past 3 days. Just had a good time listening to it. It's definitely going to be the last book I finish this month. I'm kind of in the middle of a whole bunch of other things, which I'll talk about in my wrap up, which I'll finish, or which I'll film after this. But yeah, Sorrowland was really good. I recommend it. I really recommend the audiobook by Karen Chilton, I think, is who narrated it. And the voice, she did all the voices. It was just like an excellent audiobook. The only thing I can say about the audiobook is when I read the physical copy, there was like an author's note at the beginning talking about like a land acknowledgement, which I think is actually quite important to the story, because there are 2 native characters, and Vern is very close. I don't want to like spoil relationship stuff. So Vern is very close to one named Go-Go, and I think it's a shame that they didn't include the land acknowledgement in the audiobook, because I think it's important, especially in the context of the story. I have to say, I absolutely loved Go-Go so much. She was my favorite character in this book. And I loved it. I loved the book. I loved Go-Go. It's been a while since I've like loved a character in a book. There are books that I love, and it's because I like the plot. I like the story that's being told, but I don't necessarily like really get attached to book characters all that much. So the fact that I was listening to this and I just was like so obsessed with Go-Go, I don't know, it's just really special. It doesn't happen to me very frequently in books. So yeah, 4 stars, great book. Really recommend it. Yeah. So that is going to be the end of this vlog. I read 4 books this week. I read Darkness Outside Us, Bad Man, The Radium Girls, and Sorrowland. So 2 audiobooks and 2 ebooks. So that puts me at 14 books this month in general, which is a lot of books. That's only 2 books shorter than the amount of books I read last month. So that's pretty solid. I'm really happy with the progress I made this week. Obviously, there was 1 extra day in this week vlog, but that's okay. Anyways, I will see you, well, I was going to say I'll see you in my wrap-up, but actually you'll see the wrap-up before this vlog. So, I don't know. I'll see you at some point, and we'll talk about more books. Alrighty. Bye-bye.